great pleasure having UNIDO on board. Rana Pradap Singh, you are joining us, I suppose, from Vienna, from the headquarters of UNIDO. Great pleasure having you, UNIDO, as a key UN organization for industrial development. And it is very obvious that industrial development now goes hand in hand, on the one hand, with renewable energy, and that training education is also a key component of industrial development. Rana, it's a great pleasure welcoming you. If I may hand over to you and request you also welcome the participants and then present your views on the topic of our webinar.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much for accepting me in this group. I would like to welcome everybody participating in this group, or indirectly even through the recorded message, whosoever will be interested to learn from our experiences. This is a great initiative, WWEA, and we all are sharing our knowledge, experiences. So I would like to welcome all the attendees of today and of future also. Now I'm directly entering into my presentation. Share a screen and then Stephen, is it appearing?
Not yet, no.
Okay. So, okay.
Yes, now it's coming. Excellent.
Okay, so after listening the first presentation, my presentation is also going in the same line. I would like to share my experiences, how UNIDO is performing in the field, in real world, what is the meaning of training and education for renewable energy, what are our experiences from different parts of the world. I will briefly like to touch on this kind of thing. So basically, UNIDO is coordinating international capacity building, not only for energy access, but our main motive is how to support industrial development. It means even with a small amount of energy access to renewable energy, decentralized or maybe grid-based, whatever way, our final target is to really support SMEs or whatever kind of industrial activities. So this is our main aim, being industrial organization. And in this regard, I would like to recap my previous presentation at several places where we are saying that any kind of transformation needs to pass through different stages. As you can see, in this case, renewable energy transition, let us assume that a country has very minimal kind of capacity, very low level of electrification, very low level of educational status, but ultimately they want to be very rich in energy access or energy for industries, and of course they want to make it a sustainable energy availability throughout the country. So these are the two ends. One is from the very basic infrastructure, even if it is not existing, on the final it will have sufficient amount of sustainable energy for its all-round developmental support. So in this case, what I would like to say, when our previous speaker was also mentioning his experiences from different places, really Africa and many parts of other world like Latin American, some of the countries, and Asia, also in several countries, and Central Asia. We have noticed that energy access is a big problem. So many people are not really having energy, and that is also stopping their overall development. So in this regard, when we go to the country and want to train the people, want to enhance their capacity for renewable energy expansion, it is very, very important to notice that theoretically teaching at university level or laboratory level is not sufficient. They need something really to experience. So UNIDO has a methodology under the capacity building, what we say it learning by doing. And or you can say what we want to do is we want to involve the trainees, involve the partners who will be functioning at different level. As in the previous presentation, UNESCO was sharing that whenever we want to train or capacitate the people, maybe technically, maybe from the decision maker point of view, so there are different layers, different level, different kind of a stakeholder who need such kind of capacity building training. Whatever we want to do, we want to perform, because reforms are theoretically done on analysis, on data gap collection, and also learning from the best practices all around the world. And all those kind of theoretical things translate into reforms recommended for the country. But how to perform it? That is a big question. And in that perspective, as I said, in Africa, Central Asia, Asia, and some part of Latin America, when we try to do this kind of capacity building, then we realize, okay, people are very happy to learn the classroom kind of thing, but when it needs to translate into the field, their meaning of capacity building needs many, many intelligent way to involve them. And that's why UNIDO has developed a mechanism of hand holding. It means either you are analyzing it, or you are modeling it, or you are implementing, executing, whatever you are doing, you will be present with the trainees or the counterparts throughout the cycle. And that's how we perform this kind of thing. To do it, UNIDO use its international network scattered throughout the world. We have 25, 26 centers in different parts of the world, where from anybody can access UNIDO service. So it will be cost effective, and that is one of the best way we are helping many countries. For instance, in Africa, we have 4, 5 centers. One is in East Africa, in Uganda, another is in Cape Verde, and another is in Namibia, and so many other kind of centers. In addition, as previous speaker was also indicating, university kind of element where we need to strengthen the knowledge and capacity, what we did at the university level, we identified some of the university, and we established this research and development center, where from a lot of the students are gaining, getting opportunity to really practice, to learn, and also to contribute in this renewable energy expansion. One important thing I just want to tell you, they are also UNIDO very carefully insisting faculties and the student to perform in the field. It is not like that you are teaching in the class and then after it is gone. No, you have to bear in mind that whatever is taught in terms of academics, in terms of classroom teaching, you have to translate. And that's why earlier I was saying, when there is a reform recommended by experts externally, or maybe from the national consultation or whatsoever way, it has to perform, because unless and until we perform, there is no question of transform, and we all are trying to make the complete transformation. So that's why UNIDO is well experienced and making this kind of trial in many countries. For instance, I can give you one example. In Sierra Leone, in Liberia, in Guinea, in Cameroon, we chose one university and we established a small hydropower development center. And then in certain country, we also established some of the agencies who are very hard working on the expansion of solar and expansion of biomass kind of technology in that country. And we have seen very good results. So next, I just want to share with you one very important thing. Whenever we are talking about capacity building, don't forget that we do not have sufficient money forever. We can get some kind of support from donors, some kind of support from like-minded development partners, but it will be in a limited amount for limited time period. So when we want to really make this sustainable transformation, then we have to realize that there should be a self-sustaining kind of condition. It means that whenever we are talking about RE, capacity building, RE in a sustainable achievement for final goal, we need to keep in mind that it should be financially attractive. In the beginning, if we can communicate, if we can make economically attractive, then there could be some kind of support from the government in different forms. There could be some kind of support coming from development partners. But finally, the sector should be financially attractive so that the investor will come, private sector will come, and they will meet the huge demand in the country to invest in the energy sector expansion. But while we are talking about economics dealing at the final stage, financially viable and attractive solution, we should also keep in mind that it should be very much acceptable with the environmental kind of conduciveness, and also socially it should be acceptable. So there are some few additional kind of thing we have to keep in mind, that how inclusive it is, how it is looking in terms of gender kind of dimension. So these are some of the things we have to keep in mind. And finally, at the capacity building kind of action and planning activity, we have to be very careful about demonstration. Demonstration, selection of demonstration site, selection of demonstration technology, selection of demonstration scale. These are not a simple kind of thing that we can just pick up something. These need a lot of intelligent planning, and by which if we select a proper demonstration, then it will lead to successful lesson learning and successful in terms of replicating further. So in that way, we have to really educate the people how to perform this demonstration and how to educate and capacitate the country. Important point here we have to take into consideration, it is not like that you or me is always going there to make their capacity. Their capacity, once is built, it should be targeted to retain in the country, and the country should take the leadership. So it means we have to avoid the dependence. We have to make the country self-dependent on this kind of capacity. Even though in the start, it may require additional support from outside, but ultimate goal should be to let the country to stand on its own. So in that way, what we say, it is not a small piece solution kind of thing. It should go in a programmatic way, where we have to consider a large mass of stakeholders interested in this capacity training building, and from which there will be some active partners which will go upper on the layer, and then finally, some of them will evolve as a leader in the sector in that country. And this approach is very much welcomed by many countries, and we have seen some of the countries are doing very good in this part. Earlier, there were very good interest, and now they are completely commanding this renewable energy up to a scale. I don't say that it is for every scale, but whatever they targeted, they achieved, and their country-based leaders are leading the renewable energy expansion. In this regard, previous speaker also mentioned that South-South cooperation and North-South cooperation, that is a very important approach, because when we want to share our knowledge and experiences, it should not be from a very high to very low level kind of transition. Otherwise, there is a chances that the knowledge transfer will crash. So there should be focus what you are or what we are trying to educate them, what we want to enhance their capacity should be acceptable to the recipient stakeholder or recipient country also. It means what? If there is a likelihood of transferring experiences from a much similar kind of context, that is social context, environmental context, and technical capability context kind of thing, educational background similarity, and some kind of communication, effective communication among those countries, then it will be very much easier for this capacity building to go further. In this regard, South-South cooperation is a very good kind of experience, and fortunately UNIDO is one of the pioneer organization in the South-South cooperation, and every year you can see some of the contribution is identified as best examples or best replicable project practice recommended and done by UNIDO. So I was also one of the very lucky person to get every volume. So far, South-South Cooperation from New York UN office has published 3 volumes, and in each volume, fortunately, one of my project was also identified as best replicable project, and you can access it. So the South-South Cooperation is very effective. But it doesn't mean that North-South is not meaningful. North-South is also meaningful, but we have to keep in mind how much we want to transfer and to whom we want to transfer. There should be a possibility to match together. One example I can tell you, nowadays we are talking about digitization. And digitization is really very good. But digitization in a simple way, if it is acceptable and manageable by the counterpart in an easy way for this transfer of renewable energy technology, it is good. But if we want to make a very highly integrated and sophisticated kind of data transfer and auto system where iCloud and other things are required, but unfortunately in those countries, if the internet and access of this data and transparency are the big challenge, then there will be no transfer of knowledge, no transfer of technology. So your capacity building, training, and everything will fail finally. So we have to take into consideration when we transfer from one to another, there should be a matching kind of recipient capacity with whatever technology and the things we are bringing.
If I may just ask you to keep in mind the time.
Okay, so now I'm practically done. I'm just sharing some of the examples what we have done in terms of training of local technician. You can see how we practically do, and we have established a practical field where many people are coming and continuously throughout the year they are getting trained in solar installation, and the country capacity has grown very much and they are performing very well. So in this example, the similar kind of thing, you can see the people are performing in the field and under the instruction of the university professor. So this is a very low technology kind of installation capacity building, but it is done through the university faculties so that there should be a clear-cut knowledge transfer how to make such kind of installation without failure. This is the example. To sustain the system, there should be an income. And as we are the industrial organization, we need to bring some kind of productive use and business and SMEs. And you can see the same university professor is helping them how to run the business, and very simple system and very, low energy consuming kind of business and enterprise we have helped to establish them. Then when we talk about South-South cooperation, you can see many participants are going, and it is now, you can see the level of not only South-South, it could be also a North-South kind of situation, that from China several of the countries are getting very good knowledge about how hydropower technology, manufacturing, and things exist in the world. So this is all our experiences, and at the end, I must say that this is a good opportunity, this kind of floor. We can exchange our views and the experiences to make training and capacity building in renewable energy sector and wind sector very effective. That's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. That was an excellent overview of what you're doing and how important your role is. And I think in particular touching these aspects of which type of collaboration models already exist. And we'll come back to you. So thanks again. Well, great pleasure having UNIDO on board as really one of the key players in all this.